First, does the UK need more nuclear weapons? 0207 862 2222 is the number. The Defence Secretary says he has absolute confidence in Trident, the UK's nuclear deterrent, after a failed test. Grant Shapps was apparently present when, and this definitely, I don't think this was a film of the test. This is a film of something else on another day, because this is not what happened. They essentially fired a missile and it just plopped out of the submarine into the ocean. It was off the coast of Florida last month. It's the second misfire in a row after another failed test in 2016. So this picture of a Trident being successfully fired is undoubtedly not what happened, OK? Yesterday, Shapps called the failure an anomaly. There he is racing into number 10 to give Rishi Sunak more details. He said the UK's resolve and capability to defend itself remains beyond doubt. I wonder, do we need to basically get a bigger one, Peter?
But it's nonsense talking about the ability to defend ourselves. What it actually is the ability to obliterate all of humankind.
Yes.
But we've still got to have it. We've got to have a nuclear deterrent.
Well, you don't think so, right? No. OK, go on. You were agreeing up until he said that.
No, he's right, and for that reason.
As long as you've got nutters like Putin sitting on a huge arsenal of nuclear weapons with the ever-present threat that he could use them, we've got to have some so that you can say, well, you fire yours, you're not going to win any territory, you're not going to take over any land, you're not going to rule the world, because we'll press ours and we'll all be dead.
And that's the mutually assured destruction. That's the idea. Yasmin, you're thinking we should wind back on it?
Absolutely. Listen, I'm so old. I went to Greenham Common 3 times.
You were a Greenham Common woman?
I was a Greenham Common woman in a red knitted hat and a jumper knitted by my sister. And it was so cold and rainy and horrible. But this goes back to the 80s when we were saying, if exactly for the reason Peter has said, do we actually want to destroy the world? Now,
well,
the deterrent point is well made, but now we've got what we cannot carry on, frankly, after Trump became president, is to pretend that in our hands, in the hands of the West, we have a civilized lot of people in charge. We wouldn't do the bad stuff the North Koreans or the Soviets or Putin would do. Well, that's no longer the case.
Well, you say you use North Korea. Trump went to see Kim Jong-un, and I'm reading a book about those meetings now, and he was asked, what did you tell him? And he said, if you touch your button, I'm going to blow you to smithereens.
Exactly.
And
so what I think...
I know, but that's what... that's Peter's doctrine. Yeah, and it worked.
It didn't... Listen, if you want to destroy the world, go with this. You could start and say, now that loads more countries have it, let's go for absolutely real and honest denuclearization for everybody.
Not going to happen.
Never going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Never say never.
So let's just have a look at our own.
Never.
So Trident is the key word here.
Never say never.
And I'll show you our Trident capability. You could decide whether we need more. I mean, the worry is they're not working, but basically we've got 4 subs, OK? It's our nuclear deterrent, 4 Vanguard-class nuclear submarines that first went on patrol, rusting a bit now, because 1994 they were first out there. And let's just have a look, if we can, at the range of these things. So if you put one in the ocean here, it could fire a missile as far as Alaska, Vladivostok, all the way over there, into China, almost as far down as to Johannesburg and Cape Town. They've got a big old range. We've got 4, as I said. At any one time, 1 is armed and at sea, 1 is undergoing maintenance, and 2 are either training or in port. So basically, we've got 1 on patrol the whole time, and they're long, 150 metres. That's longer, twice as long as a Boeing 747. Let me show you the missiles. So basically, they pack multiple warheads, and each warhead is several Hiroshimas. So if you're looking at something like that, you're looking at about 30 to 40 Hiroshimas. That's a very, very powerful explosive charge. And one more I'll show you here. Let's just have a look. This is the world layout of nuclear warheads. Who's got what? And if we look, so India's got 165 and Pakistan's got 107. Those 2 alone could take us all out. OK, if they start the fight in the saloon bar, it's game over for everyone. Russia's got 5,000. USA's got 5,000. North Korea's got 30, China's got 500. We've got about just under the number that France have got. Oh, Israel, by the way, is there with 90. So I don't know if we're going to get them off these countries now when you can't de-invent them. You've got to hope this, I suppose the more you have, the less chance there is anyone's going to set one off.
This is what's led us to this place. We don't need more. You know, young people are growing up. And young people are much more aware of how threatened the planet is.
Not more aware than you were. You were on it in the 80s.
I was on it, but I don't think you can assume it can never happen.
Let's bring in Tobias Ellwood, former Defence Minister. And the whole notion of us having these weapons at all is being challenged here, Tobias.
Well, yes, it would be delightful if everybody were able to pack up their nuclear weapons and we all live in peace. But go to Iran, they're trying to develop one. Go to Russia. They're now rearming. We need to understand we're back into Cold War territory, but it's actually even worse than then, because during the Cold War, arguably defined by the nuclear arms race, you had back channels that worked. You had various arms control agreements that were guaranteed. Those back channels have disappeared, and those arms controls agreements are all lapsing. They're not being replaced. And then you've got others, as you demonstrated in your map there, who are rearming as well. That is why we ourselves keep our nuclear deterrent. It's the backbone of our defense posture. And I would say that you talk about those high megaton explosions that could take place. Actually, it's the low yield tactical nuclear weapon that I'm more concerned about. The one that can take out a football pitch, but nevertheless would cross the threshold of a nuclear weapon being used. And I'm sorry to say this, but I expect one of those will be used in our lifetime. And that will be a dangerous precedent for humanity.
Can I just ask you why you think it's all right for us and the US and France to have these weapons, but others may not have them?
Because the decision was made, it was the actual Eisenhower that gave a speech of the Athens for Peace speech, where he recognized that we had developed something quite incredible, but from a civilian capability had huge possibilities and benefits for mankind through nuclear power. But there's the massive destructive power needed to be controlled as well. We'd already developed the systems.
This is the
if I
problem.
can finish, if I may finish, please. If I may finish my point, and then I'm happy to listen to you. But unfortunately, because there are bad actors in this world that mean us harm, that only recognize and respect the fact that we have a nuclear weapon that keeps us safe. That is why we maintain our nuclear defense posture. Happy to take it down if there is actually multilateral agreements on this. But we are far from that, a world where there are no nuclear weapons. That is not going to happen. Until it does happen, we should maintain our nuclear defense.
OK, Yasmin.
So you have a man like Trump in power, who is erratic at best, and you still maintain that these things are safer with the West. The world has changed
right,
immensely.
let me intervene there by saying...
I'm with you, sorry.
Go on, Tobias.
No, sorry, I have to finish.
Oh, OK.
Right,
let me finish.
There's somebody called General Mark Milley, who is the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the United States, that when Donald Trump wanted to do some aggressive movements against Iran prior to the elections, or just after the elections, I think it was the head of the US military that stepped in and said, it's not going to happen. There are checks and balances in place in the United States to prevent somebody like Donald Trump doing exactly what you're speaking about.
Right. Thank you, Tobias. Yasmin, I'm going to take our break. Sorry.
Honestly, he didn't let me speak, and I think it's wrong.
He did let you speak.
No, I didn't finish.
OK.
The West can no longer pretend to be better than the rest, because there's too much that's going wrong with us.
Better than North Korea? Better than some of these crackpot countries? Sudan?
The world has changed. I do not think, after the way we've reacted to what Israel is doing, that we can claim any moral superiority. We have to all go in for a as we've just heard, proper multilateral
All right.
treaty.
Okay, well, you sort of agree on it. Tobias, thank you very much indeed. Tobias Ellwood, former Defence Minister. We'll take your... Lots of people lining up to take calls. So this is prompted by, remember, they tried to fire 2 missiles from a Trident submarine and they just basically dropped out the front of the sub and thankfully nothing went off. But is the answer to arm a bit more decisively here, get more subs, more missiles? 0207 862 2222. See you shortly. Your calls first on the UK and our nuclear weapons. We've had another failed Trident missile test. 0207 862 2222. Maybe you're reassured if the idea that you press a nuclear weapon, it doesn't fire. It makes the world a bit more peaceful. Hi, Kevin in Dumbartonshire. You used to serve on subs, I understand.
Yeah, I served in 4 classes of submarines in 22 years.
And meaning you were on the nuclear subs as well?
Yeah, I did my time on them.
OK, just from what you've read about this incident, because they say the nuclear missile came out the front of the sub and their phrase went plop. I'm trying to work out, does that mean it went above the surface of the sea, do you think, or not?
Well, this is 2 tests out of 200 that have failed. It's not exactly, you know, a bad thing. 2 out of 200.
Well, it depends. I mean, if I was on a nuclear sub and they said you've got a 1% chance that this thing's going to go off before we've launched it, I would be making other plans.
What do you mean? You can't get off the thing.
Well, hang on a minute. Well, might be talking about that. I mean, yeah, but listen, 1% chance that the nuclear missile blows up before you launch it, that's game over.
You think about this. You take your car to the garage because it's needing a major rehaul, and the mechanic takes it out, puts it on the road. He doesn't just give you the keys back. He tests it first.
Yeah. So this doesn't concern you, Kevin. A failed test just means they're going to make sure it works when we need it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be working right now.
All right.
This test didn't happen just in the last week. It happened a while ago. I can guarantee you they went back, evaluated everything, went back and did it again, and it's working fine.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. I mean, frankly, it's like throwing a grenade, right? When the soldier pulls the pin out and they accidentally drop the grenade by their foot, that's a bad moment. And the idea that a nuclear weapon might be aimed to fire and it then drops near the submarine.
I had the great honour of working with an ex-submariner when I was in the police. He was a detective colleague of mine. They are a breed apart. Of course. They are unique, special, wonderful and gifted people. I'm with Kevin. If Kevin's all right with it,
if he's all right,
then I'm all right with it.
If he's all right,
have we even discussed what it did to the ocean?
Well, it didn't blow up.
No,
it was a test.
It went down there. Do we know the effect it's going to have on the sea life, on our oceans? Do we not even think about that?
I don't think it was. I think it had radioactive potential. It was a case of.
It's going to lie there forever now.
It is. It is. Yes, right. Yeah. We haven't thought about that. Esri in Glamorgan, hi.
Hi there. How are you this morning?
We're a bit worried about the nuclear deterrent not working.
Well, firstly, life's not like a computer game. You know, at the end of the day, there is going to be a percentage of weapons failures in every system. And this was a test for sure. And I think people need to, maybe focus on the fact that it is made by us. Something can go wrong. Every system can have a failure. But what you do, you take those lessons of the failure and you make sure that doesn't happen the next time.
Understood. Again, that's like Kevin, that's very sensible. What about the bigger question, Esri, about whether we actually need to double the size of our nuclear fleet?
I think we definitely need to have an increase in military capacity, and especially because even if Trump or one of the hard-right Republicans get into office, their goal is to withdraw America as much as they can from the world. And we in the rest of the world who've been overly reliant on America would be in for a very cold shower that day, and a massive sobering up will need to happen if America suddenly says we're not going to be throwing our troops, our weapons platforms at everything all the time. You've got to now do some stuff. And at the moment, I don't think Europe as an entirety has that capacity.
Well, the weird thing about nuclear weapons is it hasn't stopped the war in Ukraine. So we see the limitations now, don't we, Peter? You know, Russia go into Ukraine with boots on the ground. No one is seriously thinking Washington's going to nuke Moscow. That would be crazy.
It's the 2-year anniversary of Russia's invasion on Saturday, which could, of course, have been resolved much far quicker if we'd just stuck a bit of paper under Zelensky's nose, signed him into NATO, and just sent Russia packing. We could have done quite easily.
What, with ground troops?
Yeah, but sadly that didn't happen. It's not called mutually assured destruction, MAD, mad for nothing. It's deliberate. It would, of course, be the height of madness and the end of humankind. But as long as they've got them, we need them. OK,
Esri, thank you. Peter in Lincolnshire, hi.
Hello, good morning.
Well, it's a really interesting discussion, this, Peter, is it takes us back to Greenham Common and all that, and whether there's any alternative to this, what feels like the madness of just piling up explosives.
Well, as you said to the lady before and everything else about this not going off, when I first heard it and everything else, I called that submarine Keir Starmer, because it's not in power, neither was the rocket. It went up and it didn't happen and it changed its mind, just like Keir Starmer. But apart from that, I agree with both Yasmin and Peter, because yes, we do need a deterrent. But the way it's gone in the Houses of Commons last night, I wouldn't trust any of them with a match to light a firework, let alone to put the finger on a button.
Well, you've got to hope that, as Peter says, whoever's controlling the nuclear deterrent wasn't anywhere near the House of Commons last night. There's got to be some grown-ups doing it, surely. So
I agree.
It's got to be military, isn't it?
Well, you've got that where you're saying it's got to be military. But as Yasmin says, we don't need them, but we need something else that is not that doesn't do the complete destruction of sort of a 500-mile sort of area with just dropping one. You've got to have some other deterrent sort of thing, but we haven't got it yet.
Well, that's the tactical. Well, this is the new thing we're hearing: the tactical nuclear weapon, and the idea that Tobias, the former minister, was saying it can destroy the area of size of a football pitch, but presumably wipe out a lot around it. Well, and if Russia uses that in Ukraine, God help us.
But even if it does, look at the images of what happened in Hiroshima, and your eyes bleed to look at the pictures.
I was there. I was in Hiroshima 5 years ago. I went to visit it.
I think and as was it Peter or somebody who said, the war in Ukraine, what Russia was doing in Syria year after year after year, we could do. How did the nuclear deterrent stop them? It didn't.
It doesn't. No. All right, listen, why don't we talk a bit more about this, because there's so much to say about whether we're actually asking the right questions about our nuclear deterrent. So we'll take more of your calls on whether the result of this failed test is we should get more and better nuclear weapons. 0207 862 2222. We'll see you in a moment.